they're comparing their life to what they're seeing on social media. They may not feel like they're doing enough or even, reaching certain levels of success just because of how the media is portraying different aspects of life and success. Focusing on the why, focusing on the how, like how am I going to accomplish this goal? How am I going to do this? I would say the hardest thing for me and probably for a lot of people would be like that consistency.
Hey guys. Obviously, we're virtual today, so welcome back to Insider Threat. I'm your host Gravy, and today's episode is titled "Motivation is a Myth." We're going to be talking about why motivation or relying on motivation alone won't get you far. Motivation is like a wave; it comes, it goes, but discipline is what keeps us grounded, keeps us doing the things that we don't want to do most of the time. All those things is just like, dang, I got to get up and do it. I have my good friend here with me today, Asha. How are you doing today?
Hey girl, hey. Be here. I'm grateful to be here, and thank you for inviting me on the show,
Oh my
on the
goodness.
podcast.
Oh my goodness. No, thank you for accepting. Thank you for coming and being a part of the movement. And literally, y'all, this girl is so just supportive. The immediately when I reached out to her, I was like, "Hey, you gonna be on the podcast?" Just immediately, yes. So I appreciate you. You're literally
Yes,
you always support. So I appreciate everything you do. Thank you,
definitely.
and thank you for being on the pod. So
Yeah,
Aisha, we're about 5 episodes in now.
yeah.
So before we can get started, before we can go anywhere, we must open up with our icebreakers. So Aisha, say ah.
Ah,
So you get to choose between a joke, a quote, or your biggest fear. What's your choice?
okay. I'm gonna do a quote.
Okay.
I'm gonna do a quote. So my quote is from Maya Angelou.
Ooh.
Yeah. If you don't like something, change it. If you can't change it, change your attitude.
Ooh.
And I think this would be a good quote to go along with the podcast because you have to be able to shift your focus, shift your mindset, when you're to be disciplined and when it comes to motivation. So I thought this would be a great way to kick off the episode.
It'll be an amazing way to kick off this episode because I feel like this isn't talked about enough, but we're
For
going to talk
sure.
about it today. So that's the important part. So I want to get started with first, if you can explain to the people a little bit about the difference between motivation and discipline.
Yeah, for sure. So for me, motivation is like the why to achieve. It's kind of like that excitement. Like okay, let's say we're wanting to go to the gym. It's like, oh yeah, we're gonna go to the gym. We're gonna have our cute workout outfit on. We're inspired. It's like the spark. And then the discipline is how do we achieve that goal? Like how do we sustain it? What habits and what routines do we have in place to continue to go to the gym even when we don't feel like going? So motivation is like the feeling, and discipline is like how you're going to sustain.
Yes, I wholeheartedly agree. I always say that motivation, like you said, the feeling, it's the emotion behind it. Because everybody's just like, oh, I don't feel like doing this, or I don't want to go, I don't feel like doing this. And it's all about feelings. And it's never, okay, but I have to do it. And I think
Right.
that's the discipline part of it. It's like, I understand how I feel about it, but I also know that it
Mm-hmm.
has to get done. So 100% agree. 100%
Right.
agree. So, I love the quote. Let's go into the next segment, which is the internet segment. And I feel like you've been around enough tech people, baby, enough social media to understand that the internet segment is closely related to the internet in real life and as to how we connect to everything, whether that be whenever we were kids or just through our bloodline, through social media every day, or just interacting with people one on one. And so today's internet segment is focused on the societal obsession with motivation and the hustle culture that makes people believe that motivation is the key to success. This segment will also touch on how external pressures reinforce the myth that motivation is enough to achieve goals. So, the first question I have for you is what does the rise of social media and the hustle culture contribute to this belief that motivation is the key to success?
Well, I think, like, with all of the social media platforms now, like, we have TikTok, we have, like, the Instagram Reels, the Facebook Reels, and things of that sort. So, like, you have your social media, content creators who are, showing, like, the realistic part of things, but then you also have the ones who, like you say, have that hustle culture, they're promoting that. So they're promoting, like, sleep is for the rich, like, or promoting that you have to do, like, certain things to be productive or to be successful when it's not real life, and can also just create that sense of burnout. Or even, like, for those who, they're comparing their life to what they're seeing on social media, they may not feel like they're doing enough or even, reaching certain levels of success just because of how the media is portraying different aspects of life and success.
And I agree too because I think, like you said, people get so caught up in social media that they don't pay attention
Mhm.
to their own life. And
Right.
so, and then once they start comparing themselves to those people that's really, putting on a facade or flexing for like social media just to kind of pretty much they're faking it till they make it, but they're taking it as, oh no, this is Bible, this is real, this is how I'm
Right.
supposed to do it, this is what I'm supposed to be doing. So they don't take
Mhm.
into consideration, just their current state, and they don't
Mhm.
effectively make a plan. So I think a lot of people are really living in like a reactive state versus a proactive state. Nobody's planning anything. They're looking
Yep.
at everybody online is just like, oh, well, I got to do this and I got to do it now. I got to do it now. Nobody's planning
Mhm.
anything. Like it's crazy.
Right. Yeah. So, that's a valid point you made for sure. Yeah.
So do you think that external sources of motivation, like influencers or motivational speakers, like you were saying, sometimes make it seem like motivation is the only thing you need to succeed?
I feel like they can. I have come across, like, some influencers who, like I said, they're more realistic in their approach and, like, they're showing, like, their real life. And then I'm also seeing, like, influencers who are, like you say, putting on this facade. They're not showing, like, the groundwork that it took. And they're making it seem like things just fall in their lap, like they got it all together when they're not really showing, like, the building blocks to that point.
Mm. You said a mouthful then because whenever you mention the building blocks, it takes
Mhm.
it's a lot, especially when you're a dreamer. It takes a lot to get there. You have to. A lot of times, you're believing in something, you're having faith in something that nobody else is supporting you on. Like you're gonna be having people doubting every step of the way, but you still have to believe and put in that work. And
Right.
I think what's the quote? It takes 10 years to become an overnight success, but all everybody is the success for it. So it's like,
Mhm.
what if you only knew,
Right.
if you only knew what it took to get here? Many people will
Mhm.
fold within the first few days. Like,
Right. Seriously. I,
so go ahead.
oh, no, I was gonna say, I saw you share something the other day about, Mark from Facebook, how
Uh-huh.
he, he told 5 of his friends about his idea and only 2 showed up. I was
Yes.
like, "Wow."
I came across that as well. It's like two showed up, and I think they're both billionaires now. I'm just like,
Mhm.
looking back, I know those other three guys was just, I know you
Like,
lying.
right, they like, "Hey, how can I be part of everything now?"
Come on, can I get
Nah,
in?
you ain't start from the bottom.
But see, what I do like about that situation is he didn't let that stop him. He took the people that came with him and was
Yep,
like, okay, we rocking, we riding, we rolling.
definitely.
So
Mhm.
I think that's a good point. It might be just you at some point, and it might be a handful of you, but just know
Mhm.
as long as you got some people that can touch and agree with you, and some people that's really gonna support you and push you wholeheartedly, you're gonna be
Yep.
fine. Just keep pushing with those people. Everybody else will fall in line later on. But at that point, you will
Mhm.
actually know, who rocking with you and who not.
Exactly. Most definitely.
Mm. So have you ever been in a situation where you like super like you really really believe in something that you wanted to do and you kind of like told your friends or somebody and it was kind of you didn't receive the response that you were expecting?
I mean, yeah, I can pinpoint moments where I've shared different ideas with family and friends. And probably in my younger years. But now when I have ideas and stuff like that, one, I take it to God and I talk to him about everything. And then two, I just kind of like, I focus on it myself because a lot of times people try to talk fear into you and things like that. And I don't do that. Like I'm a courageous person. So I like to take risks because that's what's gonna get you to the next level. So I plan everything out and do what I gotta do. And then once I'm ready to share and tell them about my idea, I'll do that. But yeah.
I had to get to the point where I do a lot of things behind the scenes, and so but I think
Mhm.
God is trying to temper me to the point it's like, yeah, you can't let none of this out until after it's done. So that's where
Mhm.
I'm transitioning into. So I have like a
Mhm.
select few people that I share just kind of what I'm dealing with or what I'm managing at the time. They probably won't know the full scope of everything that's going on, but they know enough
Mhm.
that way I can kind of have a sounding board, so I'm not super overwhelmed or just
Mhm.
carrying like a heavy load trying to manage everything. So that's kind of like my little outlet. But I'm definitely looking at
Okay.
something kind of similarly, like you said, just take care of business and then they'll figure it out later.
Right. Or like for me, because that was a good point that you said, it's not like I keep everything to myself. Like whenever I'm planning certain ideas, I talk to people who are already doing what I'm trying to do. Um, and just kind of balance ideas off of them in a sense too. So
Definitely, definitely, I get that. Um, I try to do that, but I feel like it'd be hard because I'm like I'm looking for these people that I'm like, oh, not really around me just yet.
you gotta find the people,
I
and I
know,
could tell you more about like networking. I
yeah,
feel like that's what I'm really tapping into these days, networking.
networking. I'm getting better at networking. I used to be scared, but it was just around the time where I was kind of getting out of that uncomfortable space of just stepping out there and like marketing myself. Or I never really liked to sell myself. So when I was getting
Hmm.
into the space where I had to do sales, I was just like,
Yeah,
like okay,
I
but
understand.
yeah. So I'm a lot better now. I can say that. So it's all coming
Hmm.
together and working out.
Right,
So
right.
how can we
Okay.
shift the conversation from waiting for motivation to building the discipline to work even when motivation fades?
Okay, so like you said, motivation does fade, right? So just how I was saying before, like, when you're deciding like, hey, I want to get into the gym, I have like some fitness goals, you're all pumped up the first few days. And as soon as the opportunity comes for you not to go, it's like, okay, something happened and you're like, okay, I'm not going to sleep on today. That one day turned into 2 days, those 2 days turned into a week, that week turned to a month, right? So it's like you're losing that momentum. Um, so I say like shifting your mindset, focusing on the why, focusing on the how, like how am I going to accomplish this goal? How am I going to do this? And putting your feelings behind you because your feelings, your mood, your emotions, they all gonna just throw everything off. So you can't, if you're tired, you still gotta push through. You still gotta push through.
Heavy on you, still
And
got to push through. And then,
right.
like you were saying, the why is so important. And I think a lot of people will be able. I think it'll be easier to prioritize motivation over discipline as long as you know that why. Even when it goes back to like correcting something or anything like that. Say you're correcting your kid, right? So
Hmm.
do you take the time like, hey, don't do that because this?
Yeah, for
And
sure.
and so in their mind it's like, oh, I shouldn't do that because of this. You get what I'm saying? So it's like, but it's some
Hmm.
individuals can get into that space where it's just like, don't do it because I said so. That's not a valid
Right.
reason. That's,
I do agree with that.
it's not a valid reason at all. And then they're just going to do it anyway because most people going to think you just don't want me to do it. You don't think I can do it. Blase,
Mhm.
blase. So, but it's never the case. But as long as
Right.
you have that why, it's
Mhm.
gonna always be like I don't feel like it, but this is why I have to do it.
Right.
So
Right.
yeah, that was a mouthful just then.
Another point I did want to point out though regarding it too is like a routine. I think having a routine helps a lot too because you have your schedule and you're committed to whatever task you need to take to fulfill whatever obligation or whatever goals that you have in place. And I think that makes it easier too.
Yes, it does. And I think
Mhm.
I got hip to the routine aspect of it all, or just kind of like accustomed to having a set schedule and a routine in the military. I think I was always already kind of anal, but the military just kind of
Yeah.
honed it on me. And so just had the importance of mapping out my day and being able to get um, things done that I plan to get
Mhm.
done, and realizing that
Right.
literally, or plan, poor planning prevents. Oh,
Poor performance.
proper planning
Mhm.
prevents poor performance. Yes, and that's the thing. So that was good. Going into the buffering segment, we're going to be focusing on the emotional struggle between waiting for motivation to show up, and the reality that discipline is what truly pushes us forward. This segment will explore the mental switch from motivation to consistency and action. So before you got kind of accustomed to being more disciplined, have you ever struggled with, oh, I can't find the motivation, I can't do it? Have you ever struggled with that?
Yeah, I have. Yeah. Um, just like I said, just let my emotions get in the way. Trying to be motivated, but just making excuses ultimately. Making excuses. Oh, I'm tired today. Oh, I had a long week, so I can't do X, Y, and Z. When in reality, I have the time. Just it's all about balance.
Yeah, for
I'm a
sure.
real big person about I'm real big on like balancing.
Yeah,
So and making like people make time for what they want to make time for. So
they definitely do. So have you ever tried to rely? So have you ever tried to rely on motivation to get through a project or a goal? How did that turn out?
um yeah, I would say previously in the past, like I've done like fast and things of that nature, just kind of tapping into like certain goals or whatever the case may be. And, I just kind of relied on like motivation, like, oh, just being pumped up and like that, and just like that initial spark. But then like, I had to realize like, okay, it's not the motivation that I need, it's the discipline that I need. Um, because after a few days, if I'm just relying on how I'm feeling, like I wasn't getting anywhere with things, you know. I was trying to take like social media breaks, and it's like, oh, I'm bored. Instagram. Not thinking about the why. Like, why am I really taking this fast? What is it that I'm trying to achieve outside of social media? So,
Listen, I definitely understand. I think you mentioned something about, just like you say, you weren't feeling it. And I like to point out the fact that emotions are fleeting. We feel this way in this one moment,
hmm,
and literally 30 minutes later, we can feel a totally different way. So it's like, it's unreliable,
yeah,
but we rely on it so much. Just like, I don't feel like it. It's everything is how I'm feeling, how I'm feeling, and it's just never let me think this through, because
right.
let me see what's really going on. So I like that you just
Hmm.
like, I had to assess and hit that self evaluation button, and figure out what's going on. So that's always amazing. I'm a huge advocate for self evaluation,
Yeah.
self reflection. Like, I love
Hmm.
it. I love
Yep.
it. So what's the hardest part about making the shift from needing motivation to relying on discipline to keep moving forward?
I would say the hardest thing for me and probably for a lot of people would be like that consistency. Life be lifing. If you trying to balance a 9 to 5 with entrepreneurship, or if you got kids, married, even if you're in leadership roles, like in the army, or we were, once you reach certain ranks, you got your soldiers. They pretty much like your kids.
Yeah, definitely. Like,
And so
definitely.
just, so if you're in leadership positions, like you're trying to balance this, that, and the third, having that consistency and that routine, like I said, to make time for your goals and to be disciplined in whatever it is that you're trying to work on outside of your regular life stuff.
And then I like how you hit on the military, because shout out to the military NCOs, because not only do you have to prepare yourself for boards to get your promotion, make sure you're set up for your future goals, like she was saying, you got to sit there. Sometimes them NCOs that go above and beyond, they be
Mm-hmm.
sitting with their soldiers, coaching them through boards and everything. So shout out to y'all, because ooh,
Yes.
they don't see. You know what I'm saying? 'Cause they gave me, I had about two soldiers the minute I got E5. I'm like, wait, wait.
Listen, you promotable. You taking on everybody in the office.
Look, like, what? Wait.
Right.
I just got here. I just got here.
Early.
They don't
Good days.
care. So, and then it's a lot of learning on the fly. So you don't have time to realize how you feel about something. You just know it has to get done. And
Mm-hmm.
I just know that's the mantle that we got to take up just in everyday life. When things has to get done, don't get me wrong, prioritize, rest, get your rest, get that second win, and just get after it. Just get after it.
Yep.
You know what
Definitely.
I mean? So, how do you build discipline when you're not feeling motivated or inspired?
Honestly, I just give myself grace. I'm just like, okay, if I don't have the discipline or the motivation, I just remind myself like, okay, I'm human. It's gonna take consistency and practice. Like everything that we do to be good at it is gonna take practice and consistency. So I'm not gonna be disciplined right off the bat. Like I have to, work my way up. So just understanding that and giving myself the grace to fall short sometimes, and kind of like you said, self reflect and see like, okay, this is what I need to do to try again tomorrow or next week or whatever. So that's what works for me.
And that's amazing, because literally, give yourself grace, because I feel like a lot of us beat ourselves up a lot worse than
Mm,
anybody else can ever fight us. Like putting hands on me or anything like that is no worse than us beating ourselves up. And even that is a muscle that needs to be exercised, because, like you said, building that discipline is going to be a lot of days, just a matter of maybe not today. But then
right,
you just got
right.
to keep reminding yourself, like, I need to do this. I need to do this. I say the same thing over and over again. I need to do this. I need to do this. Okay, boom. So then they're like, I think it's like seven times more likely. I don't know the quote verbatim, but I think it's like you're 7 times more likely to do something if you write it down. Get you a notebook.
Hmm.
Get you a notebook. Get you a poster. Get you something, and write down what you want to do. Write down what you want to achieve, and just the
Hmm.
constant reminder. I like to do a little reverse psychology on myself.
Okay, okay,
You get what I'm saying? So I'm like, one of my biggest fears was disappointment. So
okay.
I kind of use that. I used to use that against myself. So like, I'll write
Hmm.
down what I wanted to do, and I'll post it somewhere that I seen it. So every time I realized that I wasn't doing it, it would hurt me so bad, because I'm like, dang, I'm disappointing myself. So,
That's what I'm gonna do.
right. So I'm like, okay, I got to get on the ball. And then immediately after, I start making plans and getting after it. So I fall short often, but still, like, that's just what I do. So find what works for you, and do it. This segment will highlight how discipline plays a key role in creating consistency, even when motivation is nowhere to be found. So, how do you deal with self doubt when motivation is low, but you still want to keep working?
Yeah, so going back to my why, just remember my why. Like, why am I even doing this? Why do I want to do this? That's going to push me and have me thinking like, okay, I need to keep going, keep pushing through. And then also like having that accountability partner too. I know earlier, we kind of mentioned like, people that we talk to, when we are planning goals or just have things that we're trying to do. So yeah, like having an accountability partner, someone that they may not need to know everything, but I have my one of my good best friends. I tell him all the time, like, "Hey, I'm working on this," and we'll kind of check in with each other. How you doing? Like, how's it going for you? And then that give me time to reflect and kind of think about some things that I probably hadn't even thought about. And that just keep me going because I don't want to fail and I don't want to disappoint myself. So,
Thank you. So, what was your
mm,
and I know you have your baby girl. So, what's your why now?
um, it
If
kind of
it's
just
right,
depends on what it is. Honestly, it just kind of depends on what it is.
gotcha.
But overall, of course, it's my daughter.
Yeah,
Like just making sure she have the best life,
yeah,
making sure I can provide for her and get her whatever she wants, as long as she doing what she's supposed to do.
of course.
Getting on she doing what she's supposed to do. Um, yeah, like and also just making sure I fulfill my purpose.
Yeah,
Too,
that's
because I'm
fine.
very
Yeah.
passionate. So, yeah, very passionate about mental health. So, like, as soon as you told me about what you was doing, I'm like, okay, bet.
Yes, yes. And
So passionate about mental health.
listen, tell the folks your credentials. Let's, because my girl passionate. She got what she be talking
Yeah,
about. Tell the folks your credentials. She got what she be talking about.
yes. I am a mental health therapist here in Florida. I am a registered clinical social worker intern. So basically, I provide services to all populations, all ages, mental health services, and so I love it. Love
I'm
it.
so proud for you. Well, proud of
Thank
you. Happy for you. And the pictures,
yeah,
she mastered it. Yes.
yes. I'm proud of
So
us.
what?
I'm proud of us just to know, like, because we met when we was, what, 20,
Yeah,
21?
yeah.
Yeah, and look, you done came,
A matter of
you
what,
got big,
eight, nine
you got your,
years?
yes,
Really, really boss freeze. Okay, I see
yeah.
it. I love that. And like I said, super supportive. You've always, she took me on my first cruise, y'all. And
Oh,
we've been
yeah,
traveling ever since.
can't sense.
One thing she gonna do is take a flight, and I know that's right.
Hmm.
So, can you think of a time when sticking to a disciplined routine helped you achieve something, even though you didn't feel motivated at all?
Um, I would say just like working on like some business type things, or even I could just use school as an example, honestly. In school, like well, for me anyway, I wasn't really, I had my daughter as my motivation and all of that, but some days I just fell short just being human, didn't really want to study, being lazy. Um, so yeah, I mean, I had to think about again my purpose and kind of figure out what I need to do to keep pushing to achieve the end goal of the degree. So yeah, it gets hard sometimes, but you just gotta keep pushing.
You just gotta keep pushing, and I love that because, like you were saying, even though your motivation is your kid or your kids for other parents out there, you still have to take that time for yourself because your
Mhm,
identity can't be wrapped completely in your kid, and you got to make sure that
mhm.
you like really checking in with yourself and like, no, how am I doing? How am I doing?
Yes, that's
So,
a good point.
and I know you have your group, right? So tell people a little bit about that.
Yeah, I have a nonprofit called A Mother's Journey,
Yeah.
and so what I do is I just help women or moms not feel so alone. So I have like support groups, and we do different outings and activities and things like that. So that's something that I'm working on. So I have to Stay disciplined and stay motivated.
Hey, but you gonna get it done. I'm already knowing we about cut from the same cloth. We a dog with a bone, literally. It's
Right.
it's
We
going
we gonna make it happen, whether it's next week or next month, next year, it's gonna happen.
at some point. Just know
Right.
I say what I mean and mean what I say.
That part.
So we're moving right along. So we're going into the take control segment, and this is just really a portion of the episode. It's going down. We're dwindling on down to the closing, but we take a moment to reflect just on the conversation, and what you got from it, what I got from it, and then we go from there. So the first, about the functions on the keyboard, right? So Control
Yep.
A,
Control
yeah,
E.
you're familiar. Y'all
Yep.
remember now we on episode 5. so so Control A, in the episode, as it pertains to the episode, is what highlights stood out to you the most from our conversation.
So from this conversation, just kind of reflecting back on how discipline is more of a I'm sorry, how motivation is more focused on your emotions and how you're feeling, whereas discipline is like what keeps you driving, what keeps you going. So just remembering that as I move through the different goals or just whatever I have going on in life, just kind of remembering that whenever I'm feeling like I'm not getting to where I need to go.
Because you're gonna get there. You definitely gonna get there. And keep that in mind. You know I'm
Hmm.
always in your corner, gonna cheer you on, whatever you need from let me know. So
Yes.
Control C, it allows you to copy whatever you've highlighted, which was that was the Control A. So what quotes or insights are you taking with you from today's conversation?
Um, I guess the quote that I kind of started off with from Maya Angelou, because that quote was short but powerful. Is just reminding us to remain resilient through it all. Like like we discussed today, discipline and motivation. And sometimes when you feel like you're not accomplishing something, or like you lack discipline or you lack the motivation, it might make you feel bad about yourself or about what you're doing. You might not feel like you're good enough or whatever the case may be, but just remaining resilient through it all. So
When were you first introduced to that quote? Like how that comes out?
A couple years ago, actually. Yeah. Sometimes I'll like read Maya Angelou poem, Still I Rise. That's one of my favorites.
Okay.
And she actually said it in that poem. So
Yeah, I got a
mm,
Maya Angelou book, and I was reading some of her poems. I was like, Maya,
yeah.
Maya,
Yes, Maya.
Miss
Yeah.
Angelou. So yeah, I love when people, offer up quotes because it kind of gives you a little bit of an insight of how they think, how they kind of navigate life. And a lot of
Hmm.
people that I come across with quotes, like one of my favorite quotes is, "We as humans make decisions based off of emotions, and we validate them with logic." Which is how,
Okay.
yeah, that's my favorite quote. Which is how I came up with the title because of the today's episode, which is motivation is a myth. Because
Okay.
ultimately, if we're like we said before, if we're dependent on emotions, we're not going to get anything done because they're just constantly changing. So we gotta,
Right.
we
Right.
gotta choose logic first, and then we'll figure out how we feel after that. So, um,
Exactly.
but I like hearing people quotes that kind of help guide them because it just tell you a little bit more about them.
Hmm.
So Control V, which allows you to pace. What will you be applying to your life moving forward?
Just like finding what works for me. And staying flexible too. I think having flexibility, like even though we kind of touched on like routines and things like that, you always have to remain flexible because at any point things can change. Um, so just staying flexible and being adaptable too, which we learn how to adapt in the military. So
Yes. If
for
it's
me, I can adapt to anything at this point. I feel like.
it's one thing the military gonna teach you, they gonna teach you resilience.
Yep. Mhm.
They gonna teach you how to bounce back. And I tell everybody, I'm
No.
the queen of the pivot. I'm gonna switch.
Right, right.
Listen, I recently did a deal, and you know what I do outside of this. So I recently did a deal.
Mhm.
When I tell you, I was over there spinning like a ballerina. I was over there spinning like a ballerina just to get to a part of the end. You know what I mean? But I'm like,
Mhm.
okay, one hurdle down, and I was. How do people loop on that bar in the gymnastics?
Mhm.
Around and around and around. I stuck the landing though. Don't play with me.
Hey, that matters. That's all that matters.
Look, stuck the landing. So,
Yeah.
whew, this has been a great episode. As a recap, we
Yeah.
went over that depending on motivation is kind of you're setting yourself up for failure. You're depending on motivation is pretty much depending on your feelings, and feelings are fleeting. They change constantly. You can feel this way this minute, 30 minutes later, you're feeling a different way. So instead of depending on your feelings, prioritize discipline. Make yourself a plan. Sit down with yourself. Find somebody else that can help you, motivate you. Find an accountability partner, as Asha said during the video or during today's conversation, and really just plan it out so that you can be proactive instead of reactive. Find you a good quote that can help motivate you and really encourage you to be more disciplined, and just
Mhm.
encourage you to choose to do what you need to do so that you can get everything that you want and desire, because you fully 100% deserve everything that you dream of. All your biggest dreams deserve to become a reality. So, Aisha,
Yeah.
before um, we head on out, I do have a couple of reflective questions for you.
Okay.
And so, one of the reflective questions is, what's one area in your life when you've been relying on motivation to push you, and how can you build discipline to create consistency instead?
I would say probably my time management.
Okay.
I feel like I could definitely improve there. A lot of times, I rely on my motivation. I'm like, okay, like in the morning, for instance, if
Mm-hmm.
it's time to, let's say I got to be at work 8 o'clock,
Mm-hmm.
and I'm tired. I wake up, my alarm go off at 6:30. I'm like, oh, I'm tired. Snooze.
Sleep.
Right, baby, I'm real quick with that finger. So, so, so yeah, and I've always been telling myself, like, okay, I'm gonna wake up a little bit earlier so I can start my day, so I don't have to rush, so I can really like, kind of wake up, reflect, kind of write down some things I'm grateful for, maybe read the Bible, pray, whatever the case may be, instead of like always feeling like I got a rush when I wake up just because I'm tired. So just building that discipline there, so that I can have like start my morning off smoothly. And be able to still accomplish some goals and things like that. So I would say my time management for sure.
I can feel that. I think mine is consistency. Now I'm consistent with what I want, but then those things that I want, but I'm not kind of obsessed with. It's like,
Hmm. Okay.
yeah, but I'm getting better. Definitely getting better. So the second question is, how will you start integrating more discipline into your daily routine to get you closer to your goals?
So just coming up with a plan. Um, I would say planning, like just kind of writing out like, okay, for tomorrow, this is what I'm gonna do and this is the times. Kind of going back to like that routine, that schedule. So kind of making sure like I'm sticking to the plan and the goal so that I can be more disciplined.
Yes, ma'am. That's great. I'm gonna do more of that too. So, well, we're coming to the point. Where can the people find, follow, or connect with you online?
Yeah, so you guys can follow me on my business page on Instagram, A Mother's Journey. That's journey as in Journi. And then on Facebook, Unique Harris, but my business page would probably be the best platform.
Keep it responsible on the business page.
Right. I keep more professional on it.
Amazing, amazing. Well, you guys, that is all for today's episode. Don't forget to like, comment, and share this episode with your friends if it's blessed you. You guys can follow the podcast at Insider Threat TV on all platforms. You guys can follow me at I'm Gravy. That is I am Gravy with 3 Ys on Instagram. And on that note, I say protect your peace, audit your code, and as always, logging off for now. Your web tip of the day is coming up next.